One. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Alive, my search for the best ways to live. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Jr., and today our guest is the president of the American Chamber of Commerce here in the Visayas. He's also the EVP for HRAC, or the Hotel and Restaurant Association of Cebu, and the general manager of Marco Polo Hotel here in Cebu. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Brian Conelly.
Well, thank you. It's
Hi,
really
Brian.
a pleasure to be here. Really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here. So what's the topic for tonight?
Of course, we're going to talk about the hotel industry in the new normal. And my first question for you, Brian, sir, is, of course, we are here right smack in the middle of a pandemic that the world is suffering from. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. We have never seen the likes of this ever in our entire lifetime. You know, there was the 1918 influenza pandemic. Of course, we had, the great global recession back in 2008. We had the H1N1, SARS, Ebola. But, this is not like any of those. And in fact, I think it won't be just a chapter, but it'll be an entire book that has yet to be written about this coronavirus pandemic. Now, my question for you, Brian, is this. How does an industry like the hotel industry, which is greatly affected by a once-in-a-generation event like this, how does an industry respond to a global pandemic?
Well, Jiggy, we have to be agile and nimble. We have to be inventive and creative. We constantly have to relook at how we're doing business. We have to repurpose areas. For example, some of our meeting space where we know we may not ever have a wedding or a meeting for another year. Perhaps we can refocus that space to be a call center operation, or perhaps an office. So we're looking at that. How can we add new fitness club areas which are more singular? So a person has social distancing, but they can still get a CrossFit workout. We're looking at our restaurants about expanding outdoor seating, and how do we create a new style of buffet? So, because I know Cebuanos love buffet and they love lechon, so we want to bring back our famous Cafe Marco buffet. So there's a lot of things that we're doing to survive. Some of the things are difficult in terms of having to say goodbye to some of our staff or see you later, as all of our staff that are being asked to sort of put their life on hold are going to be invited back once we get through this pandemic. But for now, we need to survive. And in order to survive, we've got to be agile. And what kind of customers are we willing to take? Are we working for business customers? Are we looking for OFWs, ROFs? So we're being very creative in trying to find new market segments, BPOs, long stay guests, travelers that want to get out of their house for a little while they sanitize their home. So we're doing all kinds of things to find new avenues of business, maintain our costs, but keep our team engaged and keep the morale and spirit up.
Brian, we are here in Cebu. We are still on ECQ. In fact, we have the distinction of having the longest lockdown in the entire world, right? But see, the thing is with the Marco Polo Hotel, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, it is a franchise, isn't it? Or is it like company owned, wholly company owned?
Well, it's neither. It's called a management contract. The asset, the hotel itself, is owned by Federal Land Incorporated, but I'm seconded here by Marco Polo and Wharf Hotels out of Hong Kong. So I come here. The owners. Sorry.
So you sort of use the Marco Polo brand for this particular hotel. So what I'm trying to arrive at here, is that do you have a sort of an international standard that Marco Polo, the brand, which is, like you said, based out of Hong Kong, adhere to and follow? Is there like a standard that you guys are trying to live up to, as far as operating in the new normal?
Yes, absolutely. We maintain standards that are acceptable to locals, Cebuanos, local Filipinos, international travelers from around the world. We want to make sure that we have a standard that's consistent with all of the Marco Polos across the region. So yes, we absolutely stick to a international standard of service, quality of food, quality of experience, and guest satisfaction.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about what kind of a standard? What does it mean when you say the Marco Polo new normal standards? What does it mean to me, a future or a customer of Marco Polo Cebu? What does it mean to me?
Well, for us, you'll know that coming to the Marco Polo Plaza Hotel, you'll receive the same fantastic service, quality of food, guest experience that you've always received, and possibly even better than before. But the most important thing is that you'll be able to do that with the confidence of knowing that we've taken your health, your safety as the utmost priority for all of our associates, our partners in the travel trade business, and our guests. So we ensure that we follow all of the DOT health protocols. We go beyond that because Marco Polo has its own biosecurity plan, which we also have implemented to be sure that every area of the guest experience, every area that they touch is as sanitized as possible to ensure that they have a COVID-free, any bad experience while they're with us. Prior to the COVID, the pandemic, we actually had a food safety person on board, and all her job is to make sure that the safety of the food that we serve is ensured that it's safe and sound. That's no different than what we're going to do now. We're going to take that same passion for safety and security, for personal well-being. The same level of that will now be applied to the entire hotel. So for all aspects of the hotel, sanitation, health protocols, and safety will be the #1 issue.
One of the issues that has cropped up, in fact, recently, is that the fact that the virus is actually now airborne. That means that we will have to, focus on our confined spaces, especially those that have air conditioning. What is Marco Polo Cebu doing about the fact that the virus actually is now known to be airborne?
Well, we pretty much had known that a little bit further ahead. We knew that that was certainly an option. What we've done is we've increased the percentage of fresh air coming into the system. We can manage the amount of fresh air versus recirculated air. So what we're trying to do is we're lowering the amount of recirculated air into the public areas and into people's rooms and increase the percentage of fresh air. That way, there's a fresh circulation of fresh air to flush out any pathogens that are airborne. In addition, we're doing electrostatic cleaning with electrostatic machines that give off a fine particle spray of antiseptic to make sure that not only the air, but any surfaces that you might touch are also sanitary and safe.
This looks like a lot of work, and it also looks like a lot of costs. How does it look like in the greater scheme of things, Brian? Does it cost a lot that the customer will have to pay for that additional sanitation cost, or the cost isn't that substantial?
Yeah,
to clean up.
The cost is substantial from extra staffing, temperature checking, foot baths, hand sanitizer throughout the property, an increased level of cleanliness with more expensive chemicals and better quality cleaning products, to how we clean the room. So yes, there'll be a cost associated with that increase, but to us that cost is something that's we're willing to bear because that means the safety of our guests. We want our guests to feel confident when they decide, let's go out to dinner. It's maybe the first time they've gone out to dinner since March 28th or whatever day it was, and they say, let's go to the Cafe Marco at the Marco Polo Plaza because we know they do things right, not only for food, but for health, safety, and security.
So in a way, you have added a brand of cleanliness as one of the checklists on whether they will patronize your hotel or not. So a brand of cleanliness, I think, is pretty crucial in the new normal. In a nutshell, I know you were explaining to us what sort of brand of cleanliness Marco Polo Cebu has. In a nutshell, what is the brand of cleanliness of Marco Polo Cebu?
Well, we call it biosecurity.
Okay.
And that means biologically, we make sure that we clean everything from the car that you come from the airport to the hotel. There's a plastic divider between yourself and the seats in our coaster. The coaster is sanitized after everybody leaves and left fresh. Your luggage is also sanitized before it gets brought to your room. So before it even enters the hotel, we sanitize that. The foot bath, so that your feet, anything that you might be tracking in, will be sanitized. You get a hand wash from alcohol and or hand sanitizer, and your temperature checked by one of our security guards. All of our staff are in masks and face shields and gloves wherever necessary. And that applies to every area of the hotel. So yes, we're really taking that level of biosecurity to the nth degree to be sure that every area, whether it's the elevator buttons that you push, whether it's your doorknob, or it's the pen that you sign in to your room to get your room key, everything is really done with a look to make sure that sanitation is the priority. In the restaurants, we have social distancing. We obviously are very excited because of El Viento, our Mediterranean-style restaurant, which is out by the pool, really allows guests to dine al fresco. And obviously, now that we know that COVID is airborne and can be transmitted that way, to be able to dine outside is probably the safest place to dine today. So by the pool, with the beautiful view and the wonderful weather we have, except when it's raining, you can enjoy nice pizza, pasta right outdoors under the stars.
So is it now open for dining, your El Viento?
Not yet. We have to wait for GCQ, which we're hoping will come on August 1st.
Sorry, I just had to ask. That's not part of the question, but that's actually one of my favorite places. During normal times, especially now.
Well, I'm half Italian, so I love pizza and pasta, so I can't wait till we reopen.
Brian, I know that some parts of the world, especially the United States, the government is supporting and giving aid to not just to specific industries, but to individuals as well. What sort of government support, what did DOT and the government in general have to support the hotel industry?
Well, you know, from DOLE to DOT to DTI to DOH, they've all been supportive in different ways. Obviously, for us, DOT is the most important. And Secretary Puyet has done a great job with her team. The regional director, Salomar Tamano for DOT Region 7, was just today in the hotel with us, meeting with the HRAC to discuss how can we work better to drive Cebu back to where it should be, and working with the governor. I've attended several meetings with Governor Gwen Garcia to talk about how do we make Cebu for Cebuanos? How can we remind people that we've got this beautiful island, and sometimes we take for granted that we live here and nobody tends to go and look at it. So we're trying to say, Cebuanos from the province, come to the city and stay with us. And Cebuanos that live in the city, go out to the provinces and explore our island. So really, it's a hand in hand, helping each other, working together.
So one of the things that will not be present for a long, long time is international travel, right? So I hear stories that we will have to rely in large part with the local tourism, right? Because there's going to be less business travel, there's going to be less international travel. So we're going to have to rely on local tourism. You alluded to that when you mentioned that you spoke to the local leaders. How important is local tourism in helping to allow the industry to survive?
Well, for Cebu, we survive on two major market segments. Primary is the local corporate business traveler, which is very important. So we want to see business come back in terms of people from Manila coming down to check on their businesses. All of our major clients are really based in Manila. So we actually have a sales office in Manila, in Makati, to go out and talk to our customers there. We are really excited to see them get back on the road and come down and visit the second largest city in the Philippines and see Cebu again and talk to their customers and talk to their staff. Second is now the sort of new market segment, which will be domestic tourism. And as I said, I think it's true of anybody who lives in their country. We take for granted often what a beautiful country we have. And being a foreigner, I go out and go, you guys are so lucky. And they go, what do you mean you're so lucky? And I go, well, you've got this, and we've got mountains, we've got streams and waterfalls and whale sharks and Moabual and Bantayan, and And I think, oh, you know, wow, you're right. We do have a beautiful island. Let's get out and see it. And the same with the rest of the country. I'm a bit guilty of not being able to get out as often as I would like, but I plan to explore the country much more than I did before. I've got a whole new bucket list, and most of it involves seeing the Philippines. And I think with 7,000 islands, there's something for everybody. So we need to get out and support the country by traveling internally and supporting the local hotels and restaurants.
What does light at the end of the tunnel look like for the hotel industry? What do you see that will, what event of this pandemic will allow you to see some sort of light at this tunnel? Is it as simple as getting a vaccine? Will things finally be getting close, as close to normal as we can possibly have once we see a vaccine? What does it look like to you?
Well, yeah, I think without a doubt, the vaccine is the end-all answer. That's the miracle that we're waiting for, is if we can get a vaccine where people then feel comfortable that they do not have to worry, regardless of the level of sanitation and safety that a hotel or a business or a restaurant has in place, they can be okay. But I think once we get that confidence for our usual feeder markets, which is China, Korea, and Japan, and Hong Kong, and Singapore, and other countries around us, and the US and Europe, once they get to start traveling back, I think we'll have a lot of revenge traveling. We'll see a lot more international travelers. I know revenge eating will be one of the big things. I can't wait to go out and have a dinner in a restaurant. I live in my house and I cook for myself. I'm a good cook, luckily, but I'm tired of my own food. So I can't wait to get out to, you know, some of the great places like the Weekend or the Pig and Palm, Chele Enye down at the Crimson. So yes, you know, I think the light at the end of the tunnel is really starting to attract international travelers, international MICE business, and grow the domestic market into something that's really substantial.
Do you get excited when you hear news about this vaccine getting into the second level or third level trials, and you know some of them are already testing it in real people? And do you get excited? Does the industry get excited to hear those sort of news?
I never thought I would get so excited about vaccines in my life, but right now I get really excited. You know, it's like I'm searching for information on vaccines. But yes, without a doubt, you know, somebody said that it may be years before they get it. But you know what? We have the collective brains of the whole world working on this vaccine in so many different places. Every country has undertaken this challenge. And I think if we don't want just one, we want 5 different vaccines. We want as many vaccines as that can work, that we can get plenty of vaccines out to everybody, make everybody safe, and then they have the comfort to know that they can travel in safety, and we can get back, maybe not to the old normal, but sort of a mixture between old normal and new normal. And I think that'll be wonderful, because travel is important. It's very important.
Granting that we get a vaccine, let's just say early next year, okay?
Yes.
What do you think, when do you think things will start to go back to normal business-wise for the hotel industry? Granting we have a vaccine early next year.
Well, I probably think the 3rd or 4th quarter of next year. Once that vaccine starts, if it gets out in the 1st quarter and people are starting to take the vaccine and it's working well, and there's trials and people have started, you know, the intrepid travelers are out there going because they've got the vaccine and they're successful with traveling safely. I think by the 3rd or 4th quarter of next year, you know, next year is the 5th anniversary of Christianity in the Philippines. It would be very apropos.
Cebu, right?
Yeah, in Cebu especially, you know. So we're really excited to have that next year, and I hope that Sinulog will be fully, you know, back to normal, hopefully, even with a little social distancing. But yes, we're really looking forward to seeing that vaccine go to work and tourism come back, because tourism is not only something that's good for leisure, but it's great for education by learning about other people's culture and about other people's way of life.
Brian, your positivity, your exuberance, your passion is palpable. I can see that you're a very positive person, right? You need to be, especially if you're in this industry, and especially in times like these.
Yes.
But you're just being positive, and I know you're being very optimistic. But have you ever considered, or has the industry ever considered a pivot And what would a pivot look like in a worst case scenario? You alluded to something like a BPO. You mentioned the BPO industry
Yep.
earlier during the
Yep.
first few minutes of this interview. What does a pivot look like? Is the industry, is Marco Polo even thinking of a pivot? What sort of pivot will it be if it does pivot to sort of a similar but not necessarily hotel industry?
Well, if we were to pivot, we might be looking at converting some of our hotel rooms into more of a long stay studio or one bedroom kind of appearance. It would be sort of a residence, a service residence. We could look at also senior care, where we might be open to seniors who want to have a more luxurious life or have a life where they can have housekeeping 3 times a week. They can have a nurse available on call, meals delivered to the room. So we could do that sort of a lifestyle for the seniors and for those who want to have that more relaxed living. We could also look at turning some of our guest rooms into offices. What a great way to have an office, because you've got a CR right there. You got a beautiful view, air con, power. We've got fantastic Wi-Fi. So, you know, there's a lot of options that we're looking at, even temporarily. So we had one BPO that actually moved into the hotel during the original ECQ, and they worked from their home, from their guest room. We increased the bandwidth, and both people, they shared a room, and they both had laptops or desktops, and they're working from their room. So
Very interesting.
that's a pivot that's already happened to some degree, is working from your room with your web. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you do already have a pivot.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things also, Jiggy, is that the delivery takeaway business is exploding. You know, we're really trying, because people can't go out to dine, is that we're really promoting our takeaway food. And all the hotels are doing that, and all the restaurants are doing that. And I hope that people will support those restaurants and hotels that are cooking great food for you to either pick up or have delivered to your home, because it's a great experience.
You know, and I think that one of the biggest advantages of Marco Polo Cebu is that you guys are up there in the mountains. And you're probably the highest hotel in Cebu, and you have a lot of fresh air. And I think fresh air is very crucial to a pandemic.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we've got a lot of outdoor space. We've got a large grand balcony where you could go out and do Zumba dancing or stretching or Tai Chi if you'd like. We have the sort of parking lot garden area where you're free to walk around. As long as you stay within our compound, it's okay. So we suggest people to take a walk, a big circle all the way down to the Marco Polo Residences, Tower 3 and Tower 4, all the way back up to the entrance in front of the hotel. It's about a half a kilometer. So 2 rounds and you've done a kilometer walk. So we have a lot of guests and residents doing that walking every morning and evening.
Brian, we have a lot, you know, we have a lot of viewers of this interview who are thinking of perhaps going back to the hotel, perhaps dining. Can you give us a message? What is your message to the public?
Well, I think you need to have some faith in the fact that we are very stringent in terms of health safety and your safety and your health when you come to visit us. So once we are allowed to reopen our restaurants to whether it be 30%, 50, or 75% of our seating capacity, we look forward to welcoming you back. There will be some changes initially. We're not sure when we can bring back the award-winning Marco Polo buffet, but trust us, we're looking every which way of how we can do that. El Viento will be open soon. Lobby Lounge is open for just some general food for our in-house guests. Hai Shin Lu, our Cantonese-style restaurant, looks to reopen maybe on August 1st. So there are some green shoots coming. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. And certainly from a food and beverage standpoint, we'll be moving quickly on that. We're looking at something called Dayscape, where you can come and you get a hotel room for just a day with the family and kids, and you can swim in the pool, go back to the room, go down and have lunch, take a nap, whatever, but it's sort of a day away from the house. So there's a lot of options out there, and we look forward to everybody coming back, whether it's our hotel or any hotel. We believe in really supporting the hospitality industry in Cebu and making sure we recover quickly and as fast as we can.
And finally, Brian, what is your message to the hotel and restaurant industry? What is your message to the hospitality industry?
Well, guys, I know that we're all struggling out there, but despite the fact that the times are tough, we're still working together and we're still supporting one another. We still have an esprit de corps of being professionals. And I know that because of that Cebuano spirit and that sort of positive attitude between all of us and working together and being professional, that not only will he come back, we're going to come back stronger and better than before.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. You know what? We are always here for you. You know, the media industry is here to support you. I know that this is a very tough time, especially for the hotel and restaurant industry. But I'm sure light of the end of the tunnel is getting a vaccine, and a vaccine is ready, being developed. And hopefully, it'll be done by let's just say early next year, and
Let's
hopefully
hope so.
things will go back to normal by second quarter or third quarter of next year. But we're here for you, Brian. Make no mistake about it. Thank you so much for letting us interview you today. Ladies and gentlemen, the general manager of Marco Polo Cebu. He's also the executive vice president of the Hotel and Restaurants Association of Cebu and the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in the Visayas. Thank you so much, Brian Conelly.
Thank you. All right. Take a good one. Good night. And thank you again.
Much,
ciao.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
There you have it, Brian Conelly, the president of the American Chamber of Commerce Visayas. He's also the executive vice president of the Hotel and Restaurants Association of Cebu and the general manager of Marco Polo Cebu. Thank you so much, Brian Conelly. This show, Alive, My Search for the Best Ways to Live, is brought to you by Organic Acai. Grab a bottle today in pharmacies near you, or you can visit the website and have a bottle of Organic Acai or a capsule of Organic Acai delivered to your doorstep. Thank you.